Welcome to the Harmony Channel. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Monday. We have a great topic for you today, or a fascinating topic. Candace Owens and Erika Kirk are meeting today. And there is, I guess, a tiny bit of optimism that they will resolve their differences and reach some form of peace. Erika Kirk tweeted out yesterday, Candace and I are meeting for a private, in-person discussion on Monday, December 15th. Candace and I have agreed that public discussions, live streams, and tweets are on hold until after this meeting. I look forward to a productive conversation. Thank you. Candace responded, I am very much looking forward to this discussion. I think that this is a positive step, but also an inevitable step, considering what was transpiring and how the book tour, press tour, public appearances by Erika Kirk were being received. I know most people believe I have picked a side, and how dare I not rip and shred Candace Owens. But the reality here is that Candace does seem to be winning their PR feud, that Erika Kirk, unfortunately, and because in my view the cowardice of men is being savaged all across social media. She's been turned into a meme. People are digging into her history. People are second guessing and questioning everything about her. This was all inevitable and could have been avoided if someone had convinced, asked, demanded, begged, done something to prevent a grieving widow from stepping into the leadership position at an international political organization that had its CEO assassinated in broad daylight. This is no place for a grieving mother with a 1-year-old child and a 3-year-old child, a grieving mother that, this isn't said to denigrate, beauty pageants and the whole pageant industry, I don't have a problem with. But that's not a training ground for leading an international political organization whose CEO was assassinated. And, we live in an era where women's intuition and instincts are, hey, I need to stand in the gap for men, because women do see like, man, these modern men, boy, they sure are weak. And, if they're going to be that weak, well, I can be as strong as them. And so I get it, why she may have raised her hand to do this. I don't understand how an organization that has branded itself and aligned itself with so many people with a biblical worldview, I don't see how no one was able to say, like, hey, man, there are bullets flying. Our CEO just got assassinated in broad daylight. We can't let the grieving widow be the CEO. That will not go well. And people won't let their sympathy for Erika Kirk dissuade them or influence them from wanting real truth and hard questions asked of the CEO of a political organization whose CEO was just assassinated. This is all bad strategy, all naive thinking that has put us in this position, and it's why I think Erika Kirk has appropriately, and I don't have inside information on this, I don't know who reached out to who, I just don't. But it appears to me Erika Kirk reached out trying to put an end to this and get some of the heat up off of her, and I don't blame her. I think this is a wise move. I don't know how optimistic I am that there's a road to peace here. I don't know if they're going to be able to settle things, because I think Candace is backed up against the wall as well. And I think, anyway, this will be interesting. The first thing I want to do, and I got Shemeka and Virgil and Dre coming back on with me. The first thing I want to do is, I've seen a lot of people mocking Candace. And this is my entire problem with social media and why everything should be taken with a grain of salt over social media. They say, oh, Candace said she couldn't do December 15th. I knew she was lying. And what Candace actually did say is that if Erika Kirk, if she could meet with Erika Kirk, she would bend over backwards to make that happen on December 15th. She stated that explicitly. I've seen a lot of people tweeting and, but I don't want to, I'm already getting enough heat for everyone thinks that I'm Johnny Cochran for Candace Owens. I'm just calling balls and strikes here. But anyway, let me get to our panel and invite them into the conversation. Shemeka, I'm going to start with you today. Are you optimistic that something productive will happen with this meeting between Candace and Erika?
Uh, I I think it's possible, maybe. I I think it depends on the terms though. Will Erica say, "Hey, I feel you on some of the things that you have concerns with. I'm working on it. Maybe we can give this to the authorities. Maybe we can stand together and get some answers together. I'm interested. This is, Charlie was my husband. He was the father of my children. I'm concerned too. Maybe we can stand together on some of these questions that you have and get the answers to. I think that could be a possibility, but I feel like if Erica's stance is to just stop it now. I don't know if she's going to get anything from that because I do think Candace really wants the answer to some things. And many of us have questions. We don't feel like Tyler Robinson acted alone. So if that's going to be the stance, then I don't think there's going to be a resolution. I feel like Candace will continue to go strong because she really wants to know who killed Charlie Kirk.
Dre, is there a path towards a positive resolution here? And if so, what does it look like?
Absolutely. I think Erika Kirk understands, similar to what you alluded to, is that Turning Point USA is losing the PR battle right now. And they are a big company that takes in a lot of money. And if they continue on these divergent paths between them and Candace, they're just going to keep looking worse. So, and rather, Erika is the only person over at the TPUSA team that could get Candace probably to have a private conversation, not a public one. Two women, both of them, if we believe both of them, grieving the death of Charlie Kirk, a husband, a father, and a friend, that they can have this conversation and get Candace to kind of call off the dogs of her show and also get TPUSA to stop going at Candace and all these influencers stop going at Candace and maybe get everybody on the same page of, hey, we're at least on this side of the political right as opposed to the political left. Maybe it's that. And overall, I think it's get Candace to stop bashing TPUSA, get all the influencers to stop bashing Candace. Maybe Candace stops doing this on her show. I don't know what else she's going to talk about, being that she's built up all this momentum on this subject. We'll see where that goes. I don't know. I'm interested to find out. But I think overall, the two women between Erika and Candace, I think they will work this out. I don't think this is going to come out with them sniping at each other even more. I don't see that happening because I don't think Erika is equipped for that battle. And I think she knows that, and I think Candace knows it. So I think the goal here is for Erika to extend the olive branch over to Candace, get her to chill out a bit, and maybe stop doing these episodes and let everything kind of calm down in some way. And maybe at some point bring Candace back into the fold at Turning Point. I think later on down the line, that might be happening as well.
Bringing Candace back into the fold at Turning Point. I don't see a path for that, but wow, that's interesting. Virgil, is there a path here? And if so, what does it look like?
Yeah, I don't think there's a path for Candace back into the fold. But I think the question you'd ask early on was, will this work, or how will this work, or will this quell the issue? I don't think it will. I'm not optimistic. I'm hopeful. But I don't really feel like this will end things. There are too many people who have too much invested in and digging in their heels, right? I mean, there's content creators are producing tons of content and making tons of money off of being dug in on their position. My issue with this has been, Jason, and you and I've had this conversation from the beginning. I wish this quote unquote meeting would have happened a long time ago. Like this should have taken place real early on, where the two ladies got together, recognizing the relationship that Candace had with Charlie, and come to a meeting of the minds, so that all of this could have been avoided. We get in social media, and we're witnessing it now, where people have their ideas, have their thoughts, impugn motive, and then run with that narrative, regardless of the evidence that speaks to the contrary. And so I'm hopeful that this meeting is one where you put down the keyboard, the social media war, you get in front of another human being, and you actually have some heart-to-heart conversations that result in something positive, rather than the vitriol that we've witnessed over the course of the last 3 months.
I'm going to frame up what the critical issue is, and I think it's the only path for peace. And so what the critical issue is to me is that the base, the MAGA base that Turning Point and Charlie Kirk rode to prominence, does not trust the government and is committed to that. And Trump being president doesn't mean, oh, well, since Trump's president, now I trust the government. Not for the MAGA base. Not for, most people that have been through what we've been through the last 25 years, from the World Trade Center towers to everything to COVID-19. People are like, man, I like Donald Trump, but I don't trust the government. Kevin Donahue used to come on the show all the time. He's like, man, love your country, don't trust the government. And that is the pervasive feeling among their base. And TPUSA has pivoted it to, we trust our government. What do you mean? Cash Patel, Dan Bongino, President Trump, and J.D. Vance is vice president. I'm friends with, and they're not where their base is. And the only way to settle the dispute is if TPUSA says, you know what, Candace, we're not going to partner with you, but we're going to join you in challenging the government, the FBI, the CIA, the Secret Service, any of these, the Department of Justice. We're going to take the posture that reflects our base. We like Donald Trump. We want, this isn't me talking, this is them. We want more Republicans in, but we're not going to trust them because we know what the government does and what all the corruption does. And so if TPUSA were willing to agree to, like, we will join you in not trusting the government, now you have a shot at peace. Because by not trust, they would be asking public questions about, come on, Tyler Robinson, you're expecting us to believe there's a lone 21-year-old trans-loving gunman that did this? And the base just isn't there. And so they're open to the possibility that Tyler Robinson was involved and might even go as far, he pulled the trigger. But no one believes he did this alone. No one.
Right.
And until those type questions start getting asked, and once you start asking those type questions, like he didn't do it alone, then you have to be open to the possibility, and this is where they're not open to, is like, was anybody within TPUSA involved? And that it's when JFK was assassinated, we had to ask that question.
Right.
Was Lyndon Johnson? Who
Right.
in government was involved? When MLK got assassinated, it's not talked about much, but there are a lot of people that believe the people standing on that balcony, including Jesse Jackson, may have been involved. And Malcolm X, his assassination, that we certainly believe the Nation of Islam was involved in his assassination. And so this is, and 9/11, we're like, hey, man, we want to ask the government some real questions like, what did you know? When did you know it? How did this happen? Maybe there were some government actors involved. That's just where we're at.
Yeah.
And TPUSA isn't there. Their donors don't want them there. And that's going to keep Candace and Erika at odds. And that's why I keep saying Erika needs to bow out,
Right.
be the grieving widow, and some man is going to have to step in there, because once you take the position that I'm suggesting that TPUSA base wants them to take, now your life is in jeopardy.
Right.
And and who's willing to play that role? So Dre, I'm gonna let you react to that first. What are your thoughts there?
I think it's a fair point. And as I talked about last time I was on here, I think last week, that the people, the influencers on the political right who are clearly on the same page as TPUSA. I saw the graphic for their conference coming up, and all the people that have been bashing Candace are all speaking at the conference. I said, okay, now it makes perfect sense. I didn't understand that before, but now I see that the people on the political right bashing Candace are saying, well, who are you to question the government? I said, what did we just have 5 years ago? 5 years ago, we all decided we don't trust what the government says, especially after we know we got lied to by both the Republican and the Democratic administrations, by the WHO, by the CDC. Now they're saying, well, just trust what the government says on its shooting of a person who was one of the leaders who wasn't in politics, but on a political subject, being Charlie Kirk. And now they're bashing Candace Owens for asking these questions. And Turning Point USA just seems to say, hey, shut up, don't ask anything, and just let it be. And you know, as I've said every time I've been on here talking about this, is that truth is self-evident. And when you're telling the truth, then it's obvious. Just let the truth speak. And the more questions you ask, the more obvious the truth becomes. So if Turning Point is to do what you're suggesting, let's say that they and their fans decide, hey, we're going to start questioning the government. Well, that it might change the entire landscape of what they're doing, who they're doing it with, and who supports it. So that would be an explosive thing if that was to occur. It would create a ton of content for people like us. I don't know if they would go in that direction. It'd be interesting to see if they do.
Virgil, what's your reaction?
I think you're right, but again, TPUSA really at this point kind of represents more institutionalized conservatism. It's unreal that's where we are, but that's kind of where we are, where they're signing off on everything that hey, government says this, I trust the government. Erika even said it in interviews, I trust my team, and of course those are people inside of inside of the MAGA movement. I think it would be a tough pivot because not only would Erika and TPUSA have to go there, they would have to convince all of the folks who are followers who've dug in their heels in a specific lane to go there with them. And I think that's why this conversation should have happened way earlier on in the process, because people now have vested interest. They're going to have to, if they make a pivot, they're going to have to go scrub a ton of the content that they've already put up, because they said things that oppose the position that they're now going to take. So that's the difficulty in this whole entire process. I don't disagree with you. I think there is some questions that should be asked, and TPUSA, particularly Erika, should have been the one to say, "Hey, I'm open to all ideas, all issues. We want to check every suggestion, we want to leave no stone unturned." And it all goes back to what you said earlier, Jason, which is it's difficult to do that, to even make the changes that you're suggesting when there's a grieving widow at the helm. That's the problem. That's the largest problem right now.
Shemeka, I'm going to let you respond to what I said, but I'm going to throw another idea into this mix in terms of, well, how do they get on board with their base? What would that look like? Who could be the CEO of that organization? I'm going to throw two names out here, and I apologize to the TPUSA people that will probably throw up when I say this, but I would be here's two people I would interview for TPUSA CEO. Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon. That would be my suggestion, and I'm sure there's a lot of people throwing up all over themselves, and Whitlock is crazy, and but again, if they want to satisfy their base that doesn't trust the government, they got to be thinking outside the box.
I definitely think they will have to think outside the box, and those two names are far outside the box. But I think Candace holds all the cards, and I don't think they will stand unless they make a hard pivot. I just don't think that they will do well. I think they have too much to hide. I think that there are a lot of things that have been done that may not appear to the public to be on the up and up. So I feel like the only way they will survive and not just crash and burn, is to do a hard pivot. But like Virgil was saying, there's so much out there. Could they get their influencers to also change and do that hard pivot without looking stupid, without feeling humiliated, without feeling betrayed? I think I'm really excited to kind of see how this plays out. But I think Candace is holding the cards, and they know this. And so they're trying. But I really feel like they will all have to bow and kiss the ring to get her to really just shut up and turn away from it. But I think that they understand they're going to have to take some steps towards her more than she has to take steps towards them in order to bring some type of resolution. I think they understand that.
I don't think they have to take steps towards Candace. I mean, in action they would. In reality, if they, but Candace shouldn't be the CEO of Turning Point USA.
Oh, no.
No, I'm not saying
not
you're
saying
suggesting that. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you're suggesting that, but I just want to put that out there because there are people that think like that's what Candace wants and whatever. And if she does,
Right.
I couldn't care less. She shouldn't have it. She got 3 or 4 babies herself, and it would just be an obstacle. But Dre, I want to get your reaction to my suggestion that they should be begging Tucker Carlson or Steve Bannon or someone in that lane to be the CEO of TPUSA.
Well, in the angle of those people's skills, let's say Tucker and Steve Bannon, I say, yes, it's a good idea in theory. The challenge is Steve Bannon is probably, how old is Steve Bannon? Maybe twice the age of Charlie Kirk when he passed?
60, yeah.
Yeah, something around there. Charlie Kirk was in his early 30s. So
Yeah.
the whole thing about Turning Point, at least from what I knew it from the outside looking in, it's about pulling in the younger people to be conservatives. Well, how are you going to get a 60-year-old to relate to those people? That's the first thing I'm wondering with Steve Bannon. That's the challenge.
Let me stop you there.
And when it
Let me
comes
stop you there. Because
Okay.
Tucker's probably 56, 57 as well.
Right.
But this is the issue you have when it comes to taking one of these jobs you might die in or might be killed in. It's probably going to have to be an older person who isn't like thinking like, man, I'm 32 and I may die and I got young kids or I ain't even been married yet or whatever. It's gonna have to be someone older and wiser and someone that has a close enough. And I'm not saying either of these guys are, because I don't know how far along they are on their spiritual walk, but I do think they're really courageous. Steve Bannon went to prison, standing 10 toes down, and Tucker Carlson's out here risking his life every day because I know they'd love to kill him. But I actually think you could get an older person in the CEO chair and get a younger person in the public facing, go to campus, be the face of this. They had a CEO who was the face of it. They need to probably reverse that and have a spokesman. Needs to be an Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X situation, if you know anything about that. That's what they need.
That makes more sense. Now, I was thinking about it more somebody being what Charlie was, but
Yeah.
from that perspective, that makes more sense. Have Steve Bannon or Tucker Carlson running things from the home office and then get some younger faces out there, fresh faces that can go do those college campuses. I think it can work. The challenge is with the current people that they have there at Turning Point USA. Is somebody going to tell Erika? Is somebody going to look at her face and say, no, we're not going to do it this way, even though it was your husband? I think she would have to be completely out of the picture. And those other men who have been in there basically carrying water for Erika and what they claim to be Charlie for the last 90 days, what do they do to save face from what they've been doing for the last 90 days? I think they've all backed themselves into a corner, similar to what Virgil said. So what do they do now? If you bring in Tucker or Steve Bannon, they have to clean house at Turning Point USA. Now what becomes of the organization, their donors, and their fans?
Virgil, is there any, with this CEO of TPUSA, is that a proper role for a religious leader? Is there anybody from the faith community that could be the CEO of TPUSA?
Yeah, I hesitate to put anybody's name in the mix that I know, because they'd be, oh, thanks, Virg. You put my name in the mix of that now. I got to deal with all the crazy chaos. There are some men that I could think of. I'll add this to the mix, Jason, and that is, I agree with you, someone older. And the reason for that is there are a lot of young people running around at TPUSA, a lot of young people. And again, that's not an indictment on them. Great for them that they're young. But there is something that comes with age, with experience, and from a standpoint of wisdom, or at least you hope that's the case, that would allow them to figure out how to navigate some of these issues. I'm sure they've got fantastic leadership and people around them on the board that can provide insight and instruction. I don't know how much of that has gone on with regard to this current PR campaign, where Erika's out at different places and spaces having conversations with different thought leaders. But I think it's important for someone to come in and right set the ship, level set, and really kind of take a whole new look, a whole new approach at how they go about messaging, how they're thinking about issues. I think the biggest issue with Tucker, as you mentioned, is there are those who believe he's anti-Israel. And so that's going to be the biggest challenge for a guy like Tucker, with regard to the folks who are providing money and resources. But again, goes back to all the things that Candace was saying about Jewish donors and what they're willing to do and not do and all of that. Someone there is going to have some real conversations about what this organization is going to be moving forward, and what they're going to represent. And the decisions that they're going to make coming out of this meeting are critical to their future.
I just thought of it, man. I just thought of this in real time. Wow, this is another. Virgil, get ready to respond to this one. But
okay.
Let's say, because when people say Tucker's anti-Israel, what most people, or what I think and others think, is Tucker is pro-America. Right. And that's what the base is longing for. Someone that represents the America First agenda. Mm-hmm. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's a woman, but so not her. But let me throw another, and this is maybe, Matt Walsh. If you want someone to play the role that Charlie Kirk did, Matt Walsh.
Wow. Yeah, I just watched his interview with Tucker and thought that was a solid interview. That's a great name. I'm glad you said it and I didn't. So,
Dre, what do you think about that name?
I think Matt he has an interesting personality. He has a skill to do the debate thing. He's just so different from Charlie Kirk. I don't know how he does and how he would mesh. You mean as a CEO or as the face?
Both. I mean, again, if we wanted to go with your model of doing the same thing as Charlie Kirk, Matt Walsh could do it. Matt Walsh has here's another thing I didn't even think about. Matt Walsh has a pretty solid relationship with Candace Owens. I could see Candace potentially suggesting Matt Walsh.
I think he has the debate skills. The thing is, he doesn't have quite the same touch as Charlie Kirk. Matt Walsh tends to when he debates with people, he tends to make people feel stupid, or at least it looks like they feel stupid when they're talking to Matt Walsh. He has
I think
this.
We need more of that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I get it. If you like Matt Walsh, you like Matt Walsh, it's funny. But if you don't like Matt Walsh, you come away feeling like you got trampled on. Whereas if you debated with Charlie and he beat you, you didn't quite feel that way. He had a different affect. So Matt Walsh would be a stronger.
Dre, I would argue that was the case with Charlie as well at first. I remember watching those early days when Charlie and Candace were on campuses, and they were very confrontational, going back and forth with people in ways that were incredibly antagonistic. I do believe over the course of some time, as the years progressed, Charlie got sharper and sharper and sharper at the very thing that you're identifying. But early on, they were pretty cantankerous on those college campuses.
Shemeka, what do you think of Matt Walsh?
I don't know how I feel about Matt Walsh. I like him, but I do see the pushback that he gets, and I don't think he could actually replace Charlie. I don't think anyone can. I feel like what Turning Point USA needs to do on a whole is fast and pray. They need to turn their face to the wall and pray, because I feel like Charlie, when Turning Point started, his intentions were pure. He was good. I think it got bigger than he ever dreamed it would. And I feel like people wanted to get him out of that position. I know that's conspiracy theory, but that's what I truly feel. I feel like it just got out of control, out of hand. And I think that there are a lot of people there whose main focus is money and not necessarily actually the heart of Charlie, what he was trying to accomplish. And I think it's so far gone, I can't see it turning around without some serious prayer and redirection.
I'm going to end early, and it's only because I wasn't anticipating coming up with this Matt Walsh suggestion, and I really wasn't even anticipating coming up with the Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon. But that thought is so hot that I want to stop what I'm doing, give it some more thought before I talk any more about it. But I also want Luke, Peyton, Justin, we need a separate out on, Whitlock suggests that Matt Walsh, Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon should replace, and we need that out on social media. That needs to be out into the universe as quickly as possible. The Matt Walsh thing is fascinating. That is something that I think Candace would back Candace off, and it would, man, I think it would satisfy a lot of people. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for helping me get there and for participating in the conversation. We'll stop right here, and we'll see you next time.
Up so divided, stop fighting and stand tall. We used to be a nation, one united. Now we're headed for downfall. God, let your light shine down. What we need more than anything now, harmony. Let's make a simple vow. Let's come together now. Harmony. Put all your weapons down. Love one another now. Time for us to wake up. Choose love, my sister, my brother.